Peels. Base hit to right field. Here comes Richardson. Here's the throw for Markakis. Richardson is safe. Derek Jeter ends his final game with a walk-off.
Iguodala to Curry. Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James.
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
About fantasy football, every player's favorite time of the year. So I brought my friend along, Rich. How's it going?
How we doing, everybody out there? Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
No problem. I see you're wearing a Jamal Charles jersey.
Of course, I have to represent my favorite player and possibly the greatest running back of all time.
Oh, it's interesting. We're going to be talking about him in a little while. So, Rich, here we're going to talk about some of our favorite fantasy sleepers. We're going to talk about busts. We're going to rate our top three in each position and just, give an overview and give you some help for your fantasy season. So, Rich, who do you got as your number one sleeper this year in your draft?
My number one sleeper this year, to me, is definitely Eddie Lacy. I feel like he's going to come out and have a great year because Aaron Rodgers really needs him. In camp, reports are coming out that he's in the best shape of his life. He's fit, he's strong, he's moving good, and if he is able to produce, then that Green Bay offense will be unstoppable this year.
I'd have to agree. Where would you draft Eddie Lacy?
Probably, I would say,
what's the highest you would go for a guy like that?
I would say right around the fourth round, maybe third round, right around there, because there is a lot of talent in this year's draft. I mean, this draft is wide open this year. There's no really surefire guys that you need to take, but definitely around the third or fourth round.
All right, I like that. I could see that. Definitely has a high upside. Anyone, Aaron Rodgers takes pressure off any running back he's with.
Exactly.
All right, and see, for me, I don't really have any running back sleepers. I feel like besides the top tier guys, after that, it's really a crapshoot down there.
Couldn't agree more.
But, Eddie Lacy, definitely a good pick. I really like, Derek Carr this year.
Yeah.
I think Derek Carr is going to light it up with the addition of Amari Cooper. I think he really, I think they're both just going to take strides. Their team's getting better. He's getting better. They just have a lot of upside down there in Oakland.
Yeah, he had another year under his belt. He's got another year in that offense. I think he's finally going to have a good running game this year again. So we'll see what happens. He's definitely got some talent around. He's definitely got the arm to do it.
The guy that's really intriguing this year is Dorial Green-Beckham. I really like him in Tennessee. I think Mariota's going to get better, and now they added Andre Johnson there to provide some mentorship to him.
Yep.
Other weapons, Delaney Walker.
Oh, yeah.
That running game with DeMarco and Derrick Henry is going to really, really open up the passing game.
Yep.
The dude, Dorial Green-Beckham barely played last year because he was coming off the suspension, a year without football.
Yep.
So they drafted him as a project. He's got 32 catches last year and averaged 17.2 yards per catch. That alone is a very good stat. So the more time he gets the ball in his hand, he makes plays. And he had 4 touchdowns in limited action.
And you just said the biggest issue. He just has to get the ball. They have to start, in their offense, they have to start making plays that are designed for him because he's a big, strong, physical receiver that can go up and jump at the best of them. So if you give him a jump ball, a good majority of the time he's going to come down with it.
Yeah, he showed that in college. He would have been a top 10 pick if he never got suspended for those off the field. But he looks like he got that under control.
Yep.
Anyone else you have later in rounds that you think would help out some players?
Yeah, at tight end, I love Ladarius Green. I think he's going to be an absolute steal this year.
Can he stay on the field, though?
That's the biggest thing. If he could stay on the field, he'd be great because Big Ben just lost his tight end that he's had with him his entire career, and Heath Miller. He loves a big, physical tight end, and not only is Ladarius Green that, but he's one of the fastest tight ends probably in the league. He just has to stay on the field. If he stays on the field, then he'll be a key contributor to that offense.
Oh, definitely. Especially, we got Antonio Brown out there. That alone, that's all you have to say.
Yeah, that's huge.
The defense is going to double team him every single play.
No doubt.
So Darius definitely has a lot of room to
He'll have
work.
a lot of one-on-one matchups.
I can see them using him in the play-action game a lot once Le'Veon's off that suspension, if he gets suspended, whatever the deal is with that. But Le'Veon will open up a lot for him, I think.
Just has to find a way to stay on the field.
I also really, really like Eli Manning this year. Maybe a little biased because I'm a Giants fan.
I agree with you.
He only had 4,400 yards last year, 35 touchdowns, which is second in the league. Only 14 interceptions. He had 62.6% completion percentage. They're bringing Victor Cruz back. Even if he's probably not going to be what he was back in the day, but he's still an improvement on Ruben Randle, the old number 2, who didn't really take advantage of the opportunity. And I also like the second round pick, Sterling Shepard.
Yep.
People have been raving about him all spring, and that just gives him more weapons.
For sure.
And, I think Eli is poised to make a really, really great year.
I couldn't agree more. I think Eli's going to have a lot of one-on-one matchups with Cruz, with Shepard, because a lot of, as you know, another year goes on, another year, teams are trying to figure out a way to stop Odell Beckham. And, most of the time you can't really stop him one-on-one. So what do? They're going to have a guy over the top. They're going to double team him. So Victor Cruz and Shepard are going to have a lot of one-on-one matchups that Eli Manning can take advantage of.
Yeah, and every year under Ben McAdoo, Eli has gotten better. His stats have improved every year, and now Ben McAdoo's in charge of the entire team.
Yep.
So the offense runs the way he wants it to, and it clearly is working with Eli. It clearly works with everybody. So, yeah, let the good times roll. And you could pick up Eli around the 8th, 9th round. I think he's a good guy to package along with somebody else, depending on the matchup.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Maybe sneak like Derek Carr. That's what I've been doing in my mocks, is combining Derek Carr and Eli, getting both of them, because they're both going to be good, but, matchup-wise, and you just pick your matchups, because one of them is probably most of the time going to have a good matchup that week.
No doubt about it.
All right, so do you have any more sleepers?
Yeah, I actually really do like the guy named Kevin White in Chicago. I know he didn't play a lot last year. He didn't play at all last year. Yeah, but I mean, he's just like Dorial Green Beckham. He's a big, physical, fast receiver, and Jay Cutler needs all the help he can get. And Alshon Jeffrey's going to face a lot of double teams because he's really the only offensive player they have, because they lost Martellus Bennett. They don't have Matt Forte. You don't know what's going to happen with Jeremy Langford in the backfield, because John Fox would use him, and then once he gets down to the goal line, he might use another back. You never know. So I think Kevin White, if he stays healthy, can come in real nice and do good. Obviously, he's not. You don't take him in, anywhere near the top 7 or 8 rounds in the draft. You look for him like you do with Eli around like the 9, 10.
Yeah, if you can get him later on, he's a nice value pick.
Don't waste a top 10 pick on him.
Yeah, no, I like that, especially paired up with Alshon. So they're both going to draw like double teams every once in a while. So both of them should work off each other hopefully nicely. They're both big receivers. Jay Cutler likes to sling it. There's one thing Jay Cutler can do. He can throw the ball. Yep. He can literally just, not accurately, just throw it.
Yep, hard. He's definitely a hard thrower.
The Bears are going to be losing this year. They're not a very good team. So they're going to be coming from behind. They're going to be passing the ball a lot. Yep. So, like I said, Jay Cutler is just going to be slinging the ball downfield. Alshon and Kevin White, whoever's going to come up with it.
Exactly.
No, I really like the Kevin White pick. So I have a couple honorable mentions. The guys didn't make my sleeper list, but someone you guys should keep an eye out for. Randall Cobb. He had an off year last year. He proved he's not a number one receiver. He can't do it. Yep. Jordy's coming back, though. Jordy is that guy.
Yeah, and now Randall Cobb is going to be getting a lot more one-on-one, so Rodgers will be able to find him a little bit more and get him open in space. Because that's the big thing with him. If he gets an open space, then he's one of the best receivers, but it's just a matter of getting him in that space.
Yep, because Jordy's going to roll the coverage to Jordy and stuff, especially now, you mentioned they had Jared Cook, too, another receiving option. So, they roll the coverage that way, and Randall Cobb's got one-on-one on the backside. I think he's going to have a good year. And someone to keep your eye out for, I wouldn't really draft him until late, is Tyler Lockett, the rookie from last year with Seattle. Showed you great playmaking ability, and they started incorporating more and more in the offense as the season went on. I think he has a chance to make some really big splash plays for that Seattle offense, who's going to need the playmakers.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And he's another example. He's just like Randall Cobb. A guy, if you get him in open space, he's going to make plays. That's the thing. You just have to find a way to get him the ball where he just has to make one guy miss, and he'll make that one guy miss the majority of the time.
And then it's tough to catch him after that.
Yep, exactly.
Dude's got wheels.
He's a burner. Yeah, he's definitely a burner. No doubt about it.
So we go from sleepers, someone that could really help your team, to someone that can really hurt it.
Screw your team, yep.
What do you got for your fantasy bust this year, Rich?
One big bust for me, and I'm telling you, do not take him in the first round. Ezekiel Elliott, do not take him in the first round. Honestly, I wouldn't even take him in the second round.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
There's a report coming out that Darren McFadden's going to get at least 150 to 200 touches along with Ezekiel Elliott. Dallas is not committed to this guy. I understand he was a beast in college. I understand he's a beast now. But you got to remember, he's a rookie, and this kid still has to prove himself before he gets the reins handed over to him. So they're going to be splitting carries between these two. He might end up being, one of the best backs in the league by the end of the year. But right now, I would not take him in the first, possibly the second round.
I see him going, I've done a lot of mocks so far already just because I can't wait for fantasy football.
Me too.
And I've seen him going in the first round. But, I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate. I kind of agree. It's hard to take that risk on that rookie running back.
Oh, yeah.
But he does have the best offensive line in football
Yeah, he
in front
does.
of him.
That he
A
does.
team that's going to run the football
Yeah.
because Tony Romo is going to get hurt if he gets sneezed on.
Yeah.
I think he has upside, but I can definitely see it's more of like you don't want buyer's remorse on him.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't want to look back at the year and say, "Wow, I could have got somebody else in the first round instead of this guy."
I could see that. I mean, you know who my biggest fantasy bust this year is?
The guy.
This guy right here, Jamal Charles. I don't know. He's a great running back. He's talented. He does it all. My thing that's really worried about is injuries. He seems to always be getting hurt, especially
he
down
does.
the stretch. Is when you want your best guys perform.
Yeah.
When you're in the playoffs,
Oh,
you don't want to have Jamal Charles, like the bell cow of your fantasy team, get hurt or
No
not
doubt
play
about it.
at the end of the year and screw you over.
And a big thing with me, why I kind of agree with you, is because they have a lot of talent around them.
Yeah, they showed that last year. They ran the ball better without him.
They have Spencer Ware in the backfield. They have the other guy,
Chuck
Chuck Kendrick
Kendrick
West, and they have Jeremy Maclin and Travis Kelce to throw the ball. Jamal Charles was so good in fantasy because he was the vocal point of the offense. To me, I don't think he needs to be the vocal point of the
I don't think
offense
he should
anymore
be.
because if you make him the vocal point of the offense, he's going to end up getting hurt again, and no one needs him getting hurt. I learned my lesson last year with him. I was 5-1 before he went down, and then it was all downhill from there. So, yeah, no, I do agree with you. I don't think that he's going to have that good of a fantasy year just simply because they're not going to use him as much.
He's a guy. If he's there in the second round, definitely I would take the chance on him, probably. But it's definitely something you got to be worried about. If he's there in the third round, I'd probably draft him just for the high upside. He has shown talent,
Yep,
but he's a very high risk player.
Yep.
Like we were saying about the other talent around him, I don't think he should get the ball as much anymore.
agree with
They
you.
showed the running back, Chuck Kendrick West, Spencer Ware. So instead of mixing them two, it should be one of them with Jamal. They can
Exactly.
change up those two, give Jamal half the carries, give those
Yep,
two guys a quarter of the carries each.
Exactly.
And that showed it's very effective for their offense. Keep Jamal fresh, keep the playmaking going. He probably score you 9 fantasy points a game, probably.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna he'll make that one
He's
big
gonna
play a
make a
game,
big
and
play,
that's what
yeah,
it is.
for sure,
That's what it is with Jamal, and that's what they should focus on. That's what he does.
Exactly.
Another guy, I don't know. I'm very skeptical on Russell Wilson this year.
Yeah.
It seems like a yearly thing when we talk about Seattle's wide receivers. They're not that good, but then
Yeah,
they
who
come
do
out
they
and make
got
play.
around
They
them?
make plays. Got to give them that, especially with Tyler Lockett making progression.
Yeah.
Jimmy Graham's coming back from injury.
Yeah.
They do have weapons per se,
They got
but
speed. They got a lot of speed.
but if they can't run the ball, I don't know if they can do it. Thomas Rawls, unproven commodity. He played well. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people are drafting him pretty high too. I'm a little skeptical on that.
I'm with you on that. Thomas Rawls is going to be the key factor in deciding whether Russell Wilson is a top 5 quarterback or he's not a top 5 quarterback. Because Russell Wilson has always had Marshawn Lynch in that backfield with him. And granted, Marshawn Lynch was out last year, and Thomas Rawls did do a nice job of filling in. But now teams have a full year to prepare for him because they know he's going to be the main back no matter what. So it's interesting to see how that goes because if they can't run the ball, then I don't know what they're going to do. Russ is going to have people in his face 24/7.
Yeah, and they're going to lock up, and those receivers got to show the ability to beat that press one-on-one. Doug
Exactly.
Baldwin's got some plays, and Jermaine Kearse pops up every once in a while. But
And Jimmy Graham's obviously always a threat,
But they never really clicked last year.
No, they didn't. And he's another guy that needs to stay on the field. He
he can't run block, though. That's my
he
biggest
can't
issue
do
with
that
him.
either,
He's
yeah.
not a blocker,
No,
and that's what Seattle does, and that's what
Yeah.
his biggest problem is. I think that was a terrible trade. They gave up
Yeah.
Max Unger.
Who's arguably the best center in the league.
But, people make mistakes.
That they do. I tell you what, one other bust that I really do, I'm telling you, stay away from, Sammy Watkins. Not only with the injury bug, but I personally don't think Tyrod Taylor is, going to be a guy that you could drop back and he's going to be able to sling the ball to all these different receivers. He's more of like a running quarterback. He's more of he's like what's the word I'm looking for? He's like a scramble drill just in a real game. You know what I mean? He improvises.
Play,
he improvises. Yeah, he's a lot of improvisation. And
Sammy Watkins. But the biggest thing I think is staying on the field.
yeah, exactly.
Regardless
Exactly.
of the other players around you, you can't score points if you're not on the field,
Yep.
and that's what Sammy Watkins has never shown the ability to play a full season.
No, he
And
hasn't.
do you really want to risk a high pick on a guy that you might not have down the stretch? Same thing with Jamal. Same thing with a lot of these
Yeah.
players. They show
Yeah.
injury concerns.
You
and
don't want to draft a guy high and he end up, sitting on your bench or even, released.
I know you and me both got killed by the injury bug at
Injuries,
the end of
yeah.
last year. Like
Yeah.
both our teams were looking great, and the injury bug somehow got on our team, and 5 guys went down. And that's your team go down the drain like that. That's why this year I'm trying to find these guys that I really don't think are going to get hurt.
Yeah, and
Guys
you know,
that don't
it's-
have any history of it.
Yeah, and of course it's always hard doing that because you
It's
can't.
impossible.
Yeah, you know, it's so unpredictable this entire year. But you know, you just got to do your best, and you got to stay away from injury-prone people. You know, you really do, especially in the high rounds, because like we just said, you don't want to look back at the end of the year and say, "Oh, I could have got this guy instead of drafting this injury."
You don't want to play the if game at the end of the year. Only if
exactly.
I did this. Only if I did this, I could have won. Like, yeah, that's the whole thing. If you did this, but
Yeah,
you didn't, and that's what you don't want to regret.
exactly.
I really, really don't like Devonta Freeman this year either. The biggest surprise of 2015 is going to be the biggest disappointment of 2016. Honestly, I just don't. I don't see him being able to repeat what he did. He came out of nowhere and he did some good stuff, but
Yeah.
I think Atlanta's going to throw the ball more this year now that they added Mohamed Sanu to go with
Yep.
Julio Jones. And I don't know. I just see them getting away from the run game a little more, and Devonta Freeman not being able to keep up what he did. I don't think he's that great, but
I agree with you
he
there.
can prove me wrong.
I agree with
but-
you there, and like we were saying with other running backs, they now have a full year to prepare, knowing that he's going to be the every down back. So you know, teams are going to figure out a way to stop him. So he's either got to figure out a way to be involved in the passing game, or you know, like you said, I don't think they're going to be running the ball much. They're going to be passing. So if he can't get involved in the passing game, then it's different. You know, it's a whole different ball game with him.
Another guy that just to keep an eye on. I'm a huge fan of this guy. You could ask Rich. I love Todd Gurley. I think he's an absolute stud, and
Yeah, as do I.
But the problem is they're gonna literally put, even if the Rams line up with 3 wide receivers, they're gonna put 9 guys in the box. They don't care because the Rams don't have weapons on the outside. They have the rookie quarterback in Jonathan Goff, and they just know that Todd Gurley's getting the ball. And yeah, people are gonna say, they knew it last year that Todd Gurley was gonna get the ball. Todd Gurley was a rookie. No one ever seen him before.
Exactly.
Everyone knew he was good, but no one knew how good he was gonna be off that ACL.
Yep.
I really liked him last year. I picked him in the draft pretty high because I had faith in him, and he did well for me.
Yeah, no, he did do really good.
But
He really
I don't
did.
know. I'm skeptical about a second-year running back and a team that they know that he's going to get the ball, and team just stacking the box. And
Exactly. Teams aren't going to say, all right, Todd Gurley beat us. They're going to say, okay, we're going to stop you, Todd Gurley. Jared Goff, you beat us. And until he can prove that, you know, you got to be a little bit hesitant when it comes to drafting Todd Gurley.
definitely, but I wouldn't consider him a bust. I think he'll still
No,
do. I think he'll do solid, but it's
he's
just
still gonna
someone
have
you got
a
to be.
productive year. Yeah, it's just
He's going top 4, top 5. I would draft Adrian Peterson before him.
I would. Too.
Depending on where you are in the first round, maybe Le'Veon Bell if he's
Yeah.
Le'Veon Bell's tough because of this is probable suspension.
Yeah, with my the mock drafts that I've been doing, he's been going late first, early second. So you know, if you
Who,
get
Le'Veon?
if you get him around there, that's definitely good.
Yeah, if you're at the end of the first round, maybe you could package those two. You get Todd Gurley and Le'Veon, so you have you're in the 12th person. You get 10th pick, and somehow Todd Gurley made it there,
Yeah,
and then Le'Veon's there at 2 in the next round.
yeah, no,
That could be something you could look to do and have 2 really good running backs potentially,
doubt,
and
without
set
a
your
doubt.
team up for some success.
without a doubt.
So those are our fantasy sleepers and busts. And so you want to go into our top 3 of each position? We'll go into that. Give some guys to look forward.
Let's do it. Go
cream
ahead.
of the crop.
I'll start us off.
So my top 3 quarterbacks in order are Aaron Rodgers. It's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
Cam Newton, I like. He's shown last year he's the MVP. He got biggest thing about him is his scrambling ability that gets you a lot more points. Kelvin Benjamin's coming back, so that should definitely
that's
help.
huge.
And then number 3, I have Big Ben, but honestly, that spot's there's a few guys you can make the case for to be that 3rd best fantasy guy. I just throwing in Antonio Brown. You lose Martavis Bryant, which is bad, but they added
tough.
they added Ladarius Green like you were talking about before. I like Sammy Coates this year. I really like him as a potential sleeper too. I think he showed flashes when Antonio Brown couldn't play that playoff game. His just speed. He's going to do exactly
Marcus
what
Whedon
Martavis.
as well.
Oh yeah, Marcus Whedon.
Yeah.
He's a quality receiver. He's made some plays.
Yep.
Sammy Coates, though, I think is going to fill in that Martavis Bryant role of just sprinting down the field and
Speed.
getting by everybody.
Yep.
And Big Ben does what he loves
They're
to
gonna
do
be-
and just bomb that ball downfield.
Yep, no doubt about it. My 3 quarterbacks are actually pretty much the same. I have Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton, and then Ben Roethlisberger. But like he said, it's wide open for that 3rd one. Ben Roethlisberger obviously is gonna if you give a guy like that all these weapons, he's obviously gonna have a great year. But Aaron Rodgers, of course, to me is the number one quarterback simply because the guy, whether it's out of the pocket or in the pocket, he could beat you both ways. He's able to pinpoint. He's got pinpoint accuracy, and he's able to keep the play alive. And when it comes to rolling out and improvising, he's the best at it because he makes people miss. And then when it comes to throwing the ball on the run too, if you let him roll out to his right, he's gonna rip you apart. I mean, there's no other way around. And Cam Newton, obviously, his running factor is huge in fantasy. Big physical quarterback, 6'6", what is he, 220, something like that. Yeah, he's a tank. So
bigger than me.
So when they get down to the goal line, they're gonna be running, and they have no problem making him run the ball. They really don't. He ran the ball a lot.
He's bigger than the guys tackling
yeah,
him.
big,
what other quarterback is
he's
bigger than those?
He's a linebacker playing quarterback, no doubt about it. So he's definitely a good value play.
You can't really go wrong with a guy like that.
Yeah, no, definitely can't. Definitely cannot.
Aaron Rodgers, I think a big thing is he had a very good year last year. He's still a top 5 fantasy quarterback, but now he gets Jordy back. He adds Jared Cook to that offense too. A lot more playmakers for Aaron Rodgers. And Betty Lacy's better, especially if
he needs a running game.
Oh, give him a running game, forget about it. This guy will just destroy you.
I mean, there's no way James Stark should be outdoing Eddie Lacy.
Oh my God,
There's no way.
I like James Starks, but never for fantasy.
No.
More of a player. I like him. He plays hard.
He's
He's
like a FanDuel thing occasionally.
Maybe if you're if you're desperate, I guess. But I like him more as like a real life on my team guy, not a fantasy on my team guy.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, speaking of running backs, what do you got for your top 3 running backs? This can get interesting because people value things differently.
Yeah, without a doubt. I have Adrian Peterson number 1. It's kind of obvious. Even though Minnesota has another year under the belt, Teddy Bridgewater has another year under the belt. They got all the playmakers on the outside. That offense is still going to revolve around Adrian Peterson. And Mike Zimmerman loves to run the ball. He loves the ground and pound. So Adrian Peterson is definitely going to get his touches. He's still going to get his touches on the goal line. So expect a big year from him. I love Le'Veon Bell. I mean, how could you not? Between the running game and the passing game, he's great in PPR leagues, especially because those catches and those extra yards mean so much.
They add up.
Yeah, they add up real quick, especially with him because they love dumping it off to him, and he's another guy that you get him in space and he's able to make a bunch of guys miss. And then the top 3 running back, I kind of left wide open just because, like we were saying before, this draft is wide open. No running back has kind of concreted himself into that top 3 tier, even top 5 tier. It's wide open. It really is wide open.
You can make an argument for a lot of people.
Yeah,
because the injury, it seems like running backs, it's a revolving door running back for a lot of teams now. A lot of teams are running back by committee, so you don't have that one guy.
Exactly.
My list actually is exactly the same as yours. I couldn't pick a top 3 running back. I wanted to put a guy like Gurley there.
Yeah.
People have Lamar Miller up there, but he hasn't shown it yet. He wanted to be the bell cow in Miami, but he wasn't.
Yeah, no.
He's shown flashes. He's got talent,
no,
but he's got to prove it to me before I risk a second round pick on a guy like that.
Exactly.
But the thing I like most about Adrian Peterson is what you were saying about Teddy Bridgewater. Actually, another year in the system, another year getting used to the NFL. The third year is when you see most NFL young NFL
jump.
Yeah, they make that step. They had a guy like Laquan Treadwell, a big wide receiver, good possession receiver, help Teddy Bridgewater move the ball downfield. They still got the Kyle Rudolph I really like too. But that opens up the field for Adrian Peterson. They can't stack 7 guys, 8 guys in the box now. They can only put 6 guys in the box. They have to worry about these guys on the outside, which just gives Adrian, and even if it cuts down a couple carries from Adrian Peterson, he'll have more to work with those carries he gets.
A lot more room.
And this guy gets in space, he'll run you over, he'll stiff arm you, he'll juke you, outrun you. He's amazing. He's shown no signs of slowing down. I know he's over that 30. He's 31 now. He's over that 30. And that's scary for a lot of people, but the dude had a whole year off, which I think really helped his body because he was I think it was 2 years ago, so he was 28, 29.
Yep.
So he's getting old, his body starts getting a beat down, and he takes a year off.
Yep.
And not by his choice, obviously, but he takes a year off, gives his body rest, and from everything I've watched about him, he's working harder than these young guys. These young guys can't keep up with his workouts.
No. I mean, this dude is still shredded. I mean, he's got an 8-pack going on. I mean, his chest bumps out.
He's a man. He's a man.
He's in top physical friggin'.
So I see no slowdowns from him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we pretty much agree on the why. And Le'Veon Bell, it's tough to draft him because of the suspension because he can't stop smoking.
Yep, I know.
Dude, this time it was because he missed the drug test. He probably knew he was
but-
going to fail, so he figured, I'll miss it and try and get out of it.
At some point you got to
stop.
mature and say, what's more important, my livelihood and my career, or smoking weed?
Big Ben's got to take him to a bathroom stall, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not funny.
Let's move on to wide receivers. Who you like at wide receiver?
Wide receiver this year, I got to go Antonio Brown, especially like PPR leagues,
Yes.
but like in general, I would go Antonio Brown first.
Yep.
He gets the ball, he makes plays. He's been the top receiver in the NFL.
Yep.
And then I like him at 1, Big Ben. Then I like Odell at 2 because he's the center point of that Giants offense. Like Eli and him have clicked from the get-go.
Yep.
Oh, so no matter what, even when he was by himself out there on the edge, basically, he was still finding a way to get 9 catch a game, 100-something yards, a touchdown. He always seemed to find that gap in the defense, and Eli, he's been improving this offense. They're just in sync. I see, Odell's getting it in stride. They're never off top.
They share a brain.
That's really great to see. That's what you want to see your quarterback
And top wide receiver have.
That's what Antonio Brown and Big Ben have.
Yep.
Odell and Eli.
Thinking the same helps a lot.
And then for number 3, it was kind of tough to pick my third best receiver, but I'm going to have to go with Julio Jones just because, he had a great year last year.
He's
I think
a beast.
Mohamed Sanu across will help give him more single coverage.
Uh-huh.
Matt Ryan's, he's always been a very solid quarterback. I don't
Yeah.
think he's great, but
No.
he can do it. Like, he can play quarterback.
He's shown flashes that he's able to perform.
So I think with that, mainly the addition of Mohamed Sanu will open a lot for Julio, and Julio's just shown he just goes up and gets it. He's a playmaker. He's huge. So I think that's going to be really big for their team this year.
Yeah, no, I pretty much agree with you with the top 2. Antonio Brown, obviously, the guy, whether it's getting a screen, whether he's beating a guy one-on-one. I mean, that matchup last year between him and Patrick Patterson was one of the best matchups I've ever seen. He was quick, he's fast, and it helps a lot that he actually returns punts too, because you get points from that every time he scores a touchdown from that as well. So that's huge. Odell, obviously, I don't even have to speak about Odell. Between the one-handed catches and him being able to go up top over everybody, he's amazing. But
those nice crisp routes, like the dude can cut on a dime.
Yep,
it's crazy.
Yes, he can. Yes, he can. He's amazing, Odell. He really is. But at the third spot, I did disagree with you. Even though Julio Jones is a beast, he's obviously top 5 receiver, in the league right now. I personally feel that AJ Green is going to have a better year, and I'll give you my reasoning. My reasoning behind this is that they lost Mohamed Sanu, they lost Marvin Jones. Tyler Eifert's opened up on the pub list and probably not going to play for a couple weeks. They can't make Andy Dalton sit back and sling the ball like they did last year because they don't have all the playmakers on the outside. So what are they going to do? They're going to put Josh Hewitt back in the backfield with Jeremy Hill, and they're going to ground and pound. And now what does that mean for A.J. Green? That means the box is going to be stacked if they're able to run the ball, and A.J. Green's going to have a lot of one-on-one matchups with – I'll take A.J. Green over anybody one-on-one any day of the week.
Anyone?
Anyone.
Even Antonio Brown?
Maybe, but just in general, between the size, the speed, the physicality, his leaping, man. I mean, he goes up and he catches the ball at the highest point.
He's got great feet. I've always noticed he's always had that knack for keeping his feet in bounds.
Yep.
His toe taps, there's some of the times those are amazing what he can do.
He's amazing. He really is amazing. So that's why I feel like he's the top 3 wide receiver in this year's draft.
Yeah, my one concern is what you said. He lost Mohamed Sanu. He lost Marvin Jones. He lost the other playmakers around him. That means all the focus is on him.
Yep.
A guy like, it kind of reminds me of a guy like Des Bryant. Mm-hmm. He doesn't really, he has Terrence Williams, but who's Terrence Williams?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, they're going to run the ball, and that's what their primary focus is. And then when they throw it, they're aiming to throw it to that guy. Mm-hmm. And, Des has shown that he can still produce, but, when the Cowboys were good, it was because they were mixing it up a lot. I'm just wondering if Andy Dalton can play like Tony Romo and be able to do that because he's got to make some plays. It's really going to rely on Andy Dalton, I think.
Well, exactly. We'll see. And coming off that thumb injury, so
we'll
see what he's able to do.
See what the Red Rifle can do with AJ Green this year. So for tight end, it's a pretty obvious number 1, but after that, it gets kind of difficult. So who do you got?
Definitely up there. I have obviously Gronkowski.
Yeah, that's why I think anyone.
He's. I mean, you put him on any between giving him to Brady. I mean, You just
Size,
that's
the
ridiculous.
strength,
I
the
mean,
speed, the
yeah,
hands, the
forget it.
blocking. Like he's
Forget
such a
it.
he's an
He,
overall
he
great
does it
talent.
all. He's gonna go down as one of the best tight ends in football of all time. And then I have a Jordan Reed at number 2. Jordan Reed was fantastic last year. The biggest he always had the talent. He always had he was always able to be an excellent football player, but he just couldn't stay on the field. And last year he really did a good job of staying on the field. And look what happened. He ended up being one of the most productive tight ends in all of football.
He
So
definitely has the athleticism to do
yeah,
it.
he's got the athleticism. He's got great hands, and he's a great big red zone target, especially for Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is in love with him. Anytime they get down there, that's who he's looking for.
Well,
So-
yeah, because Kirk Cousins isn't that good, so he
Yeah,
just throws in a general area.
yeah.
He knows Jordan Reed's probably going to come down with it, unlike everyone else. He'll throw it to him.
Exactly. So yeah, you gotta love Jordan Reed, and then my third is Greg Olsen. I think him and Cam have a wonderful chemistry going on between them. They like running the ball too. Cam spreads the ball, he does, but overall his favorite target is Greg Olsen. He's another red zone threat. Because Cam Newton's a threat running the ball inside the 10. So Greg Olsen's obviously going to have a lot of one-on-one, and Greg Olsen can beat a lot of linebackers one-on-one. So I do like Greg Olsen at number 3.
I'd have to agree. My list is actually, once again, identical to yours. I like Greg Olsen a lot, and he could even jump into that number 2 spot for me. Honestly, like he's kind of like 2A, 2B with Jordan Reed.
Yep.
I thought that Cam Newton showed, like, he's Cam Newton's favorite target, like you said. But, you add back Kelvin Benjamin to that offense. It brings pressure away from Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen was the number 1 wide receiver on that team, if you ask anybody.
Yep,
If you look at
for
everything.
sure.
He was that guy. And he's a tight end. He was finding the holes in all these coverages. He was beating his man one-on-one, Imagine if he doesn't have all the focus on him. How productive he can actually be with Cam Newton this year.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. He's definitely going to have a good year, Greg Olsen.
He's someone I really like to pick up later in a draft is him.
Yep, no doubt about it.
And for defense, what do you got? Because this is something you got to think
This-
about.
thi-
It's not
yep.
just not allowing points, not just talent. It's turnovers,
Yep,
stuff like that,
That's
sacks,
the big thing. Yep, that's the
the
big
point
thing.
getters, fumbles.
Exactly, the ones that are going to cause turnovers and make the most of them. My first defense is Seattle. They've been the top. They've been the number 1 ranked defense the last 5 years. They've given up the least amount of points in the last 5 years. You might not get the turnovers that you want, but you definitely know what you're getting with them when it comes to holding teams to under 20 points a lot of the times. They got back Chris Clemens, who's a great pass rusher. He didn't do good when he left, but now he's back, so I'm assuming he's going to be good. He's back home. He's in a system that he's familiar with, so.
Michael Bennett's playing for a contract this year.
Exactly, and then they got back Brandon Browner too, who's another guy that went to New England, did good in New England, that went to the Saints and was absolutely terrible. He was miserable. He got beat by everybody and anyone,
Yeah,
even
because he's not that guy.
no,
that they-
even Scrubs. So now he's back in a system that he knows that he excelled in. So they'll be good.
the OG Legion of Boom is back.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then number 2, I went with Arizona.
Bird Gang.
Yeah, Bird Gang. Bird Gang. I went with Arizona. Arizona, they're that defense that does cause turnovers because they mix it up with their blitzes and their schemes so much. They send Tyrann Mathieu, who's a beast.
That guy is unreal.
Yeah. I mean, he's
Unreal.
all over the field. That guy, when he's on the field, the quarterback's always keeping an eye on him because you never know what he's capable of. He could sprint. He's just like Earl Thomas. He could sprint from one side of the field to the other and end up intercepting you. A lot of things can happen with him on the field.
Yeah, Patrick Peterson shut down the number 1, the best in the game in my opinion.
Yep.
Taking that number 1 guy and following him around and shutting him down.
Yep, and doing a good job staying with him, not getting beat. And,
Like Revis was. Revis is just a little older now. He doesn't have the speed to
Exactly.
keep up necessarily anymore. But
Exactly.
I like that a lot.
Exactly.
And they had Chandler Jones in the offseason to
Yeah,
get that pass
he's-
rush. That was their biggest problem.
Yep, he's big. He's huge, Chandler Jones. He's going to help a lot with that team.
Put him alongside with Calais Campbell,
Uh-huh.
that freaking mammoth of a man. He's like
Yep.
6'9", like
Oh, yeah.
300 pounds. This dude's a monster.
Gigantic. He's a tank. His whole way of playing football is I'm just going to move you out of my way.
He also drafted, yeah, really. He reminds me of the Mountain. Like he's just like freaking
Yeah.
dude, unreal. And then they also added Robert Ninkomdichi in the draft, who was a top 10 talent, but because of off-the-field problems,
Yep.
fell all the way to 28 to
Yep.
Arizona.
Oh yeah.
And so Bruce Arians picks up a guy. He can just, I trust Bruce Arians to put the guy on track.
And I think I could be wrong, but I think they got Tyvon Branch too, didn't they?
No, Tyvon Branch signed with the Raiders.
The Raiders. He went back to Oakland. Okay. Yeah, and then my third defense, I was kind of up in the air with this. I was going between three different teams, between Denver, Minnesota, and the Raiders. I ended up going with Minnesota simply because they're a young defense. They're an aggressive defense. They like to attack you, and they have another year under the belt. And the main thing with them is they might not get the turnovers, but they're never gonna let up the big play. That's the big thing with them. They never let up a big play. You never really see that. You might be
Harrison
able to.
Smith's a big reason.
Yeah,
for that.
he's Anthony Barr is a tank too. He's a beast. And they might give up a couple plays here and there, but they'll never give up a big one, and that's huge when it comes to fantasy because if teams are only getting field goals on them, that helps a lot when it comes to scoring with defenses.
Yep, and I think them running the ball a lot will cause the other teams to have to throw because they need to score quickly
Yep.
because they're going to kill a lot of time with Adrian Peterson, and I feel like Teddy Bridgewater is not going to be the downfield threat and stuff. He doesn't really have a big downfield, but they're going to dime and nickel and dime you down the field. Like Quantrill,
They're going to play the time of possession game. a lot.
They're going to make you have to score quickly and let their defense, dig in and just get after you.
Yep,
I like that. My defense, I go Seattle, Arizona, and then I went with the Raiders. I was kind of balancing between Minnesota. I really like Minnesota's defense. I like the Raiders for the turnover aspect.
Yeah.
And the sacks because you have Khalil Mack, the first player ever to be All-Pro at 2 positions. And then that alone, reason enough. But then you have a guy like Bruce Irvin, whose really sole thing coming out of the draft and the Seattle drafted him was he can rush the pass.
Yep.
So you throw in a guy like that alongside him, then you add in their secondary. You added
Sean Smith.
You added Sean. Oh yeah, they added Sean Smith at corner, so that makes him that much better.
Huge. He's one of the most underrated corners in the game because he might not get the interceptions, but he's able to lock down a receiver, no problem.
They signed David Emerson to a big deal. He played really, really well coming over from Washington last year.
Oh yeah.
They've got Reggie Nelson, who's shown he's gotten 5 picks a year for the last 3 years for
He's a good
Cincinnati.
ball hawk. He's a good ball hawk.
He's a really good center fielder, and they signed a guy like Tyvon Branch. They also drafted a safety in the first round.
Yep.
Their defense is really, really shaping up to be a quality defense, and I think it's that whole sacks, pressuring the quarterback, forcing the bad throws, especially.
They're gonna get after. They're gonna definitely get after the quarterback. They're gonna have to, and like you said, every team that goes against them is gonna have to really, really sit down and prepare hard for Khalil Mack because Khalil Mack can beat, a double team. He could beat anybody 1-on-1. He's got the speed to he's got the speed of a receiver. He's so fast. He's able to go around that edge and get to you like it's nothing.
Yeah, he's him and Von Miller are very, very similar players. That's why I like Denver. You can definitely make the case for they were the best defense. You can make the case that they were the best defense ever last year in the history of the NFL. But you lose a guy like Danny Trevathan, you lose Malik Jackson.
Yep.
But that's really all that they lost. They really didn't take too much steps back. I just, and I think Shane Ray is going to have a nice year this year for them.
I think so, too.
Him and DeMarcus Ware are going to be switching on and off. Just keep DeMarcus Ware for when he's needed.
Exactly.
So I think they're going to.
And the main thing is they got back their best player. They got back Von Miller. They re-signed him, and if you have Von Miller on your defense along with Aqib Talib, Chris Harris, you're going to be able to do some things on defense that the offenses won't be able to account for.
Yeah, their secondary is a lockdown still.
Yep, no doubt about it.
So, all right, Rich. That concludes our fantasy sum up for the day. I look forward to this a little bit closer to draft time. I'll have you back on.
Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it. It was nice. It was fun. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Have a good one.
All right, guys.